I was made to love you. The lights of New York shimmered like a kaleidoscope through the raindrops on the windows of Club Nova, the hottest disco dance club in the city. The pulsating bass line of the music inside was so intense that it could be felt out on the street. Inside, the air was electric, the dance floor glowing under multicolored strobes. Bodies moved together in sync, the rhythm of the music pulling everyone into its magnetic grasp. She walked in like a shadow, cutting through the neon haze. Her name was Mia, dark hair cascading over her shoulders, silver sequins catching the club's spinning lights like fragments of a disco ball. Every head turned her way, but she didn't care. She was here for the music, for the way it could make her forget the weight of the city's unyielding pace. On the far side of the room, Daniel nursed a drink, trying to blend into the corner. His friends had dragged him here, insisting that Club Nova was where he'd finally shake off his recent heartbreak. But as soon as he saw Mia, every thought he'd brought into the club vanished. She moved through the crowd like she owned the room, though her gaze stayed distant, as though she didn't care if anyone noticed her. When their eyes met across the crowded dance floor, Daniel felt the breath rush out of him. He didn't hesitate. He crossed the room as if pulled by an invisible string. "Hey," he said, his voice barely audible over the music. She glanced at him with a raised brow, her lips curving into a small, mysterious smile. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Would you like to dance?" Mia studied him for a moment. He was good-looking, in a slightly disheveled boy-next-door way. There was something sincere in his tone, a rarity in places like this. "Sure," she said. The music shifted, transitioning to a slower, sultrier beat. Daniel took her hand and led her to the middle of the dance floor. Their bodies moved together, tentative at first, but soon in perfect harmony. The crowd seemed to melt away, leaving just the two of them in the center of the pulsing light. "You're good at this," Mia said, her voice smooth as velvet. "Only because you make it easy," Daniel replied, his eyes locked on hers. He was falling hard, faster than he could control. Every step, every turn, felt like it was meant to be. In that moment, Daniel was certain of one thing. "You were made to dance with me," he said, his voice low but firm. Mia froze, her rhythm faltering. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. For a moment, he thought she might smile, might say something to validate the wild hope swelling inside him. Instead, she shook her head. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "It's true," Daniel said, leaning closer. He could feel her warmth, the faint scent of her perfume mixing with the air thick with sweat and anticipation. "I've never felt this way about anyone. There's something here, between us. You feel it too. I know you do." Mia stepped back, breaking the connection. The music swelled around them, but suddenly the magic of the moment seemed to evaporate. "I don't do this," she said, her voice steady, but tinged with regret. "Do what?" Daniel asked, his heart pounding. "Get involved. Not with strangers, not like this." "But it's not like that," he insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. "This isn't just some random meeting. We connected. You can't deny that." Mia sighed, glancing around the room as if searching for an escape. The glow of the disco lights painted her face in shifting hues, but her eyes were shadowed, distant. "It's just a dance, Daniel. That's all it was. Nothing more." She turned and began to walk away. He reached for her arm, but she pulled free, disappearing into the crowd like a wisp of smoke. For a moment, Daniel stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, the music pounding in his ears like the echo of his own heartbeat. How could she just leave? How could she walk away from what had felt so real? He pushed through the throng of dancers, scanning the room for her. But Mia was gone, swallowed by the darkness that lurked at the edges of the club's neon glow. Outside, the rain had turned into a drizzle, the streets shimmering under the glow of streetlights. Daniel stumbled out of the club, his mind racing. He replayed every second of their dance, every word she'd said, searching for some clue, some mistake he could fix, but she was gone. "I was made to love you," he whispered to himself, the words catching in his throat. The city loomed around him, indifferent to his heartbreak. For a moment, he thought about going back into the club, waiting for her to return. Or maybe he'd try to find her somehow, convince her that she was wrong, that they were meant to be. Or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd stand there all night, lost in the swirling chaos of New York, unable to accept the simple truth: sometimes a dance is just a dance. And sometimes love is nothing more than a fleeting moment under the spinning lights of a disco ball. But as the rain began to fall harder, drenching him in cold reality, Daniel knew one thing for sure. He wasn't ready to let her go. Not yet.